as you start improving yourself and as you start getting better, you may get a more attraction from girls, from women wanting to be in your life. And sometimes if you mess around with them and if you be around them enough and you build a connection or whatever, they might want a relationship with you. And I've had that a few times, like especially over this past year, where girls have wanted relationships with me. But I've always been kind of against it a little bit. And this is not in an extreme way. This is almost like I see the investment of that, if that makes sense. And other people don't necessarily see the investment of that. And I see it in a different light, if this makes sense. And what I don't want for you lot is to get into a relationship too early, like doesn't serve you and doesn't better you, especially if you don't know the person that well. And a lot of times you'll have people who want to get in relationships quick, but they don't actually know what they want on a real level. And on a real level, they might just get with someone else and then get in a relationship with them. So it's not necessarily just you as that person. That's the priority in their life, if that makes sense. And I just think now, as I got older and as I view it from a 21-year-old's perspective, and I want you lot to know, because some of you, let's say you found an amazing girl when you were younger, or before my age, and you've been with her for ages, that's a bit different. But let's say, for example, someone like me, I've got a lot of attraction from women, and over the past 2 years it's went up and went up and went up. And before that I had no women, and it's almost like I've had loads of different stuff over these past 2 years. And on a real level, I view it from a different perspective, to the point I know what kind of girl I want with certain qualities and certain things, and I also know that I need to get to that level to provide and to be able to get to that version of that woman that I'd like, if that makes sense. Certain qualities, certain things about them that I would like, if that makes sense. And I didn't want to go for someone early, at this early stage of life, and necessarily fuck up myself getting to that point where I want to be, if that makes sense. And some of you may say that's selfish, but I've got years and years and years to improve on that. We've got years and years and years to improve on that. If you're watching this and you're around my age, you've got years to improve on that. And you don't need to settle down with someone straight away just because it's the first girl that you see. And I see a lot of people around me, especially, who will get one girl and they'll just settle down with them because it's one girl. Whereas I've been able to say no to that because I know it's not necessarily the right thing long term for me as a person. And I'm not saying if I find someone who's right for me, I wouldn't get with them and I wouldn't be with them, of course. But it'd take time for that to actually happen. Like 4 months, 3-4 months to actually know that person deep within, to see if that's actually a real person who I want for a long-term perspective. And some people just view it short-term, and you don't want to view it short-term with this, because it could be a lot of pain. It could be a lot of pain, especially when you're building a connection with someone. You can get so attached to that person. Therefore, you might be just playing a hard and harsh game where it can go down and go up on a real perspective. And that's a paranoid view of looking at it. But on a real level, I'm not saying don't be afraid of falling in love or whatever, but what I am saying is, if you want to achieve certain things in yourself as a person and certain goals, you don't want to cash in now, if that makes sense. You don't want to cash in with the best thing now, if that makes sense, that you know you might be able to get better in the future. And it's the big-headed perspective from some people. They view this as, oh, that's big-headed, saying that, oh, this person's not good enough for you. But on a real level, everybody's got certain preferences of stuff, haven't they? You've got certain preferences. We've all got certain preferences, and you don't want to get with someone who's not necessarily the right fit and build a real relationship with them, because they're not a right fit at that time. And long term, they might not be a right fit. They might not want the same things as you, and that's 100% fine. There's loads of people in the world. There's loads of different places you can go to, loads of different places you can live, loads of different areas, loads of different women, loads of different men, if you're into that, where you can find that real connection with them. You know what I mean? And it could be a different person. It doesn't have to just be like the person you find now, if that makes sense. And I find a lot of people get into that, and I'm in a weird perspective with it, where there's not many girls I can say wholeheartedly who I've dealt with who I would have wanted a relationship, maybe one or two. And now I wouldn't have wanted a relationship with them, because now I see how much better I got and how much I've grown, and that would have outgrown as well. So on that perspective, I wouldn't want to cash in now, if that makes sense. And I've dealt with some good girls, I'm not gonna lie, some nice women I've dealt with who have been really good in a sense, and been nice in all different ways and been good. But on a real level, you don't want to cash in straight away. You don't want to cash in straight away, you know, and you want something that will actually last long term. It's a big investment. It's a big investment. I don't know if I'm the only one who sees it from this perspective, but love is a big investment. You are actually saying to someone that me and you have that connection, and we want to build on that. How much time is that going to require? How much emotional energy is that going to require? How much energy literally is that going to require? Time. All this, it's going to add up. And if you're not where you want to be, and if this is not the girl you necessarily want, you shouldn't get with that one, if that makes sense. And have a relationship with them, if that makes sense. And sometimes they're threatened, oh, I'm going to leave. In reality, if it's not the right thing, be okay with letting them go. Be okay with letting them go. You don't have to literally just get in a relationship with anyone who wants to, you know? If it's not right for you, just allow yourself that time and that belief in yourself that you can improve and get a better person, or get someone that fits your life necessarily better, because that would be better for you. If you can get someone who's better in certain areas that you want, or almost a better fit for you, that's what matters. That's what matters. And it's all about you at the end of the day with this stuff, because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to live together, spend loads of time together, all this stuff, you know? And you don't want to just cash in with someone that isn't necessarily the right fit, and then years down the line you're going to think, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have done that. That's a negative outlook on it, don't get me wrong, but there is also a positive outlook on it. If you do find someone who's a right fit now, don't get me wrong, if you find someone who's a right fit now, of course, but on a real level, you don't want to just get with someone who isn't necessarily a right fit and stay with them because that might be the only girl who's ever shown you love, you know what I mean? Because over time you might be able to find someone who's a better fit, you might be in a better position, you might be a better version of yourself, you might have more confidence, better physique, more money, overall a better person in every sense, better social circle, and you're going to view yourself in a better light and attract a better thing. But let's say now it might be this person who you don't necessarily want, but because I don't want her to leave me, I'm going to stay with them. That's not going to be a good fit, if that makes sense. And that's the mindset I want to apply to some of you. And some of you may say, oh, you shouldn't say that when you're young or whatever. And on a real level, I don't know. This is my outlook on it, and I'm not really going to change it unless I get completely wowed by someone, you know? Unless I get completely wowed, and then that'll be a different perspective. But I think this is the honest and best perspective to view it from, if that makes sense. Because if you've got certain goals and certain things you want to achieve, and you're not where you want to be as a person, for example, I'm not, and I know it's going to take a while for me to get to where I want to be, or at least take years of effort, it's one of these things that I know it's not the right time for that, unless it's someone who completely enriches my life and ups me as a person, because sometimes you can find someone like that, but I haven't been able to find anyone like that, if that makes sense. And that's the reality of this stuff, man. That's the reality of this stuff. And I just don't want you lot to invest in this too early to the point it crushes you, because you think if it don't go right, and this is a bad perspective to view it from, don't get me wrong, but let's say there's a girl who's not necessarily the right fit for you, it's a lot of emotional pain, and then it goes wrong, you break up or whatever, then you've got to deal with that pain again, and you've got to rebuild out of that. You've got to completely almost get your mind off of the times that you had together, and almost learn to live without them, even though you spent so much time with them. Does that make sense? Where you're close and together, sleep together, fucking doing little shit together, like cleaning your teeth, whatever it is, you know, in little things that make you feel good. You've got to start to live without that, if that makes sense. And that's another obstacle again for you to get past. Whereas if you said, I'll hold out a little bit and try to get someone who is a better fit for me, or entertain it when I'm in a position that I can actually be proud of and grateful of, that's going to be better for you as a person, because you get what you want, you'll be in a position that you want, and then you'll be a better version of yourself as well, especially your fitness getting better, your physique, your money, all this. Then you're going to be able to attract someone who's better, who would have been a better fit that you actually want, instead of someone who you didn't necessarily want, but is the person that was convenient at the time, if that makes sense. And this is my mindset with it. I want you lot to write down what you think. I'm not discrediting, let's say you had someone who's been with you for ages and you've got that natural connection, because I know a lot of people, well, not a lot, some people who have that at my age, and they seem like they're going to be together for a while and probably get married and all that stuff. That's 100% fine. But say someone like me, I've not necessarily found that, and there's not many people who view that from that perspective. And I just want to know what your lot's perspective is on this as well, because obviously I'm open to opinions and everything. So I hope you lot got a lot of value. Like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.